So to do that, we need to start thinking courageously. We need to start thinking like 21st century leaders. And this goes back to how my father taught me about the value, the immigrant mentality, that notion that we see opportunity in everything. We see well beyond the obvious, that we have this ability to anticipate the unexpected, managing crisis and change before circumstances force their hand, or being able to unleash our passionate pursuits so that we can become potent pioneers and open new doors of endless possibilities, or that we as leaders in the 21st century need to live with this entrepreneurial spirit, recognizing that entrepreneurship just isn't a business term anymore. It's a way of life. You don't have to be an entrepreneur to be entrepreneurial. You just have to have that entrepreneurial attitude. Or that we need to work with this generous purpose, that notion of having everyone's best interest at heart. And believe me, your employees and your growing workforce and your consumers and supply chain partners are recognizing when you're making a commitment to them, and those know that when you're not. And so it's important to work with that generous purpose and then lead to leave a legacy. I've always said that success comes most to those who are surrounded by people who want their success to continue. And so when you lead courageously and begin to think with that immigrant perspective, you recognize that we're actually transitioning from a knowledge-based to wisdom-based economy. It's no longer just about what you know. It's about what you do with what you know. And this is where I'll tell you that I was so lucky to have been raised with a father like mine. See, my dad had me, and I was born when he was 50 years old. And last year I lost my father when he was 97. And I think about this cultural shift and realize that he was teaching me about how to lead change from as young as I can remember. And I can remember how my father always told me that until you embrace differences and you can be your most authentic self, do great things start to happen. And what I didn't tell you is this, is that when he graduated from the Massanutten Military Academy, he actually attended Cornell University and was the first Hispanic with a degree in chemical engineering in 1940 from Cornell. And he took that passion back with him to Cuba, and he was involved in leading new projects in vinegar distilleries throughout the island until he realized that he needed to go back to his original passion, which was music. And did you know that my dad was the originator of crossover music? My dad actually worked with Elvis Presley and the Beatles and integrated American rock and roll into the rhythms and sounds of Cuban music. And then when my dad came back to the United States, he worked for Miller Brewing Company. And my dad was one of the 3 chemists who formulated Miller Lite. You can imagine how fun my college years were, right? And then at 80 years old, I pulled my father out of retirement one more time, and we launched a food business together with partners in Mexico, and we're one of the first to launch a line of gourmet food products throughout all of Costco and throughout every major retail chain in the United States. Great things happen when differences are embraced. And it was my father who taught me to trust myself and trust my brand, and I ask you to do the same. That perhaps this lens of the cultural demographic shift may be too big, or just may be waiting for you right there, right in front of you. And when you do, you will begin to see things that others don't, and do what others won't, and keep pushing when prudence says quit. Thank you very much.